Next up, we have a story from What the Flip Man. So, this is a bit of a lengthy one, so strap in, folks. I wouldn't know if this is my favorite gaming memory per se, but this moment really meant a lot to me. I'm 15, and I've always had a very close relationship with my 5 years younger brother. Growing up, me and him were inseparable, but recently I felt like I've grown up too much. I often reminisce upon these beautiful core childhood memories of me and my brother, and I would worry that it's all over. I was worried that I'm just too old to hang around with my little brother, and that the last core memories of me and my brother would be from years ago. To sum it up, I felt like I'd grown up too much to create those lifelong memories of my younger brother. About 3 or 4 months ago was spring break. In that time, me and my brother were reminiscing about the game series Little Big Planet. This was because around 2021, me and my little brother would spend all day, every day playing the same set of community levels together. This is what I mean by a core memory, something that we will never forget. However, the servers were shut down around 2023, and me and him had to come to the terms with the fact that we could never experience those memories again. However, we still decided to boot up the PS3 and play through the story modes of the first 3 games together. We would spend most of the day playing through the levels together and getting into all sorts of stupid shenanigans. After beating the second game, I did a little research and found out that it was possible to play those old community levels. We just needed a PS3 copy of Little Big Planet 3, which we both ended up getting. We were only hoping to try out a few levels that we had used to play, which we did, and it was a blast. We played levels like SpongeBob Train Bomb Survival and Mortal Kombat Gummy Bear. Although we both doubted it would work, we decided to see if my brother's old levels were archived, and by God's finest miracle, they were all there. Me and him ended up crying of joy together, though I tried to hold it in. It felt like I could see myself as I was when I was 11 and my brother 7. We spent the rest of the break playing together, but time soon came and school was back and we stopped playing. It was a great time, sure, but it was just like any other time I do something with my brother. Though now, months later, I think back and I realize that we had created a lifelong memory. I will never forget those 2 weeks of my life and how they made me feel. Now I long to go back. Ultimately, I realized I will never be too old to feel like a kid again, and there's no such thing as too old to make a lifelong memory. Damn sure, right, dude, right, like that is just everything right there. Like I won't lie, I did skim through this, so I kind of knew what to expect reading that one. I didn't read it like to the full extent though, but like I remember the first time I skimmed through this, it literally made me tear up because that is so beautiful. But that little sentiment right there of like you're never too old to create a lifelong memory, like that is so true, and that's something that I've had to learn in recent times, especially, right, because now that I've been in my 20s for a few years, and it just feels like time keeps passing and I'm just getting older, shit keeps happening. It's easy to get caught up in the ever-evolving momentum of life, right? Where it kind of just feels like a snowball where it just gets crazier and crazier. But, it doesn't matter how much time passes. I hate the saying, oh, just grow up, or oh, you're too old for this. Because, bitch, I don't care if I'm, my 20s now, bro. I'll watch SpongeBob. I'll eat ice cream before bed. I'll build Legos. I'll binge Dragon Ball all day. I'll play as many video games as I want. I'll go swing on the swings. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do what I want. Who cares how old you are? Since when? Why should age be a restriction on fun? Just because an arbitrary amount of time has passed, and just because you've been alive for an arbitrary amount of time, and now there's an arbitrary number attached to you, like, why should any of that determine whether or not you're allowed to have fun or do certain things? Like you know what I mean? And it really just does take these moments where, say, you go and boot up a PS3 again, and you grab, you go buy some copies of games that you used to play, and then play them, whether you're playing by yourself or with people that you used to play the games with, just, getting back into these experiences. And that's part of why I love video games so much, because they truly are a time capsule, not just in themselves of like, okay, this is like a time capsule of like when this game came out and like what was happening in the game industry at that time, but it's also a time capsule for the players. Because for me, when I think of, like, for example, it's Resident Evil 4, it's my favorite game of all time, and when I think about that game, I think of like everything that game has gotten me through, and that's literally everything in my life. Whether we're talking about breakups back in middle school, high school, whether we're talking about the times that I got literally expelled from my school, and I was like, what the hell am I even gonna do now? Because I was, a bad kid. I got expelled multiple times, had to go to like, secondary schools and whatnot, or the times when, not to get too deep and personal here, but when I was living with my father for a very short amount of time back in 2010 after my parents got divorced. That was a very rough time, and is part of what made me develop post-traumatic stress disorder to begin with, along with like the rest of my childhood. And my, Resident Evil 4 was just always there for me through like everything like that, everything good and bad. For the good times, Resident Evil 4 was there. It was just, just good times, just me enjoying a great video game, making fun memories with that. But for the times when times were bad, Resident Evil 4 was also there to help me get through it and realize like, hey, I will get through this eventually, and there's still other worlds to be embraced and to get immersed in and to enjoy. And while yes, things may be shitty in real life, you know, things won't be shitty forever. And damn it, if Leon Kennedy can get through all this shit, if he can get tossed around by El Gigante, and if he can defeat Sadler and rescue the hot president's daughter and have this whole like will they won't they dynamic with one of the hottest Asian chicks in gaming, like damn it, if Leon Kennedy can do all that, then why can't I get through, you know, some shitty times, you know what I mean? TLDR, yeah, you're never too old to have fun, and just because you're getting older doesn't mean that, you know, it doesn't mean you're not allowed to have fun. And that's why I make so much content centered around like nostalgia, whether that be old music, old video games, etc. This, literally all of this right here, like this is exactly why.